Hey, this is Judgment Awaits, and I've got a hardcore team deathmatch for you on the map Piazza, and I am going to be rocking the spaz the entire time. Now, I wanted to show you a message that I got right after this game was over, and this is from Wedgie Man, and he says, "Does it feel good to win with that cheat you are using? Don't get used to it. I'll be hacking your SHIT in a bit." So now it's not unusual that I get messages after games that I do well that somebody accuses me of cheating. I'm sure if you have ever done well in a match, people just automatically assume that you must be cheating. But it's kind of unusual that somebody threatened to hack my account. So I wanted to give you some things to do and to make sure that you do in order to protect your Xbox Live account and just your online accounts in general. So hopefully these tips help you out. Some of them aren't going to be anything new for you, but maybe one or two will be something that you could add to help increase your security level. I also want to give you some tips on how to move around and just to be effective when you're playing hardcore. A lot of times people like to just sit in corners or hold areas or anything like that. If you've seen my other videos though, I tend to move around and I like to do that. So I'm going to give you some tips and tricks to do that effectively with a shotgun like the Spaz. For me, the Spaz is just a fun gun. It's challenging, pump action. If you miss with that first shot, you're pretty much dead. And that guy I killed right there, that's Wedgie Man. And when you see me killing somebody in that general area or just on the outside of that area, it's going to be a good chance that that's him. He just kind of likes to hang around in that area. On to the tips though. The first tip is pretty obvious. You just want to make sure that you have a strong password. Now remember, you can use letters and numbers a lot of times, and also like the pound sign, the dollar sign, the percentage sign. There's other characters that you can use. So watch when you're making your passwords and try to include one of those characters in there. Also too, make sure that you have different passwords from different types of sites. Like your forum sites, I have one type of password. For my more secure sites, like my banking sites and everything, like I have a different one. And just use a bunch of different passwords for different sites. That way if somebody gains one password, they're not going to be able to get into everything else. And there was Wedgie Man again. But number 3, make sure that you don't access your Xbox Live account on a public or a shared computer. If you're going to school and you're logging into your Xbox Live account, you don't know what is on that computer. There could be viruses on there. I don't know how many times I've gone to a public computer and hit the back button and went into somebody's Facebook account or something like that. Yeah, you could have some fun doing that. I wouldn't recommend it, but just be careful when you're logging onto these public computers at work or at school or in some other area like that. And also too, be careful how you share your information. I don't know if you remember back a couple of years ago, but there were people that were gaining access to other people's Xbox Live accounts because they would call Xbox Live and they would have some personal information about that person, and they would trick the Xbox Live agents or the Microsoft agents into thinking that they were the actual people. If people can gain access to your personal information, if they know your name, where you live and everything like that, they've got a better chance of doing that. So be careful what you put out there. If somebody's asking you a bunch of questions during a game, like where you live and everything like that, don't respond to that. Also be careful if you've got like your Facebook tied or linked to your accounts or anything like that. If somebody can gain your Facebook account or just see that information that's on there, they're going to get a lot of information about you that they can use to, social engineer, hack your account. So be careful with what you're putting out there and what you've got linked up and everything like that. Don't be afraid to even use those extra privacy settings to help secure your stuff. Nowadays with Xbox and other sites, you can also link your mobile phone to your sites, and that way, if somebody tries to make a change or you need to recover your passwords or your account, they can send a text to your phone with the password, and it just helps secure things. Now, be careful who you do end up giving your cell phone numbers to. You don't want to become part of some spam, calling list or anything like that. So, use that wisely. You also want to watch how you set up those secret questions or those questions that allow you to give access back to your account or log into your account in case you forget your passwords. Those are questions that if somebody knows information about you, that is a way that they could gain access to your account. So be careful on how you set up those questions. Don't actually put, like, if one of those questions is what's your mother's maiden name or what's the name of your first animal, don't put anything related to that in there. Put something totally different. That way they're not going to be able to go to your Facebook or go to some forum and see that your first pet's name was Bobo or something like that and use that to answer one of your questions and gain access to your account. So be careful with those security questions. Like I said, put something totally different in there for an answer. At home, you want to make sure that your, spyware, malware, antivirus stuff is all up to date. If you get something on there that's going to keep track of passwords and everything like that, that's another possible way that you could lose, your password, or somebody else could gain access to that. So make sure that that is all up to date, and make sure you do not fall for phishing sites or scams or something like that. If you're the type of person that sees a banner or something for free Microsoft points and they want you to add, put in your username and password for your Xbox Live account, just do me a favor and smack yourself in the head right now. Be smart about those things. Very rarely is there anything free in life. Just use some common sense, and that's probably the best tip of all. But the last tip I have is be careful when you take your gamer tag over to a friend's house. Sometimes you can be friends with somebody and the next week you're not friends with them. So be careful when you're doing that. There are ways to password protect your gamer tag so that somebody actually has to put in a password in order to use that Xbox Live profile. So take advantage of that if you're the type of player is constantly moving their gamer tag over to somewhere else or to different Xboxes or something like that. So, but hope these tips help you out. Hope there's something in there that you haven't heard, or maybe something that causes you to change some things up. Also, just remember, most times, people threaten to hack your account. They're really not going to be able to do anything. They're just trying to blow smoke or get you to worry about it. Don't fall for that. If they are really a hacker, then, they're probably going to be able to do it no matter what you do anyways. But those people are far and few between. Those are the uber elites, and there's only a few people that can probably do stuff like that. So don't get all worried about that. Now, on to the shotgun tips that I have for you. Map knowledge is huge, obviously. You have to know the areas that people like to camp in and kind of hold, and know how to approach those areas. You also have to know the high traffic areas. I tend to try and stay in those high traffic areas. Usually they're areas with cover, and they're usually areas that do well for using a shotgun. If you've noticed in this map, I have not gone to the other side of the map. And don't do things like this. Watch this. I'm going to try and take this guy out with my secondary. He's at range. He's probably aimed down sight at me with an assault rifle or something like that, and I'm going to try and take him on. This is just dumb to do. I get a hit marker, but he takes me out. Be wise in your engagements. Know the limitations of the shotgun. If you do get an engagement like that, just run the other way and go kill somebody else. You don't have to, kill everybody that you see. So be smart with your engagements with the shotgun. I'd also recommend using range with your shotgun. You don't really need damage or the other perks. Range is going to really help you out, hitting people at a distance. And I'd also recommend really using UAV and vests, and UAV and vests only. If you know me, you know I like to do that. If you use UAV and vests only, you're going to be able to put them on multiple times and get to them multiple times, and you're going to keep the UAVs up there, and so it's going to help you find people. In hardcore, if you don't get the first shot off, a lot of times you are dead, but having a vest on helps you survive that. So I'd really recommend using those UAV and vests. Another huge key to running a shotgun in hardcore is planning your shot. You want to approach an area, you want to be thinking, where am I going to engage this person so that my gun is pointed in that general direction and all I have to do is squeeze the trigger. As far as what to pair with your shotgun, I'd definitely go a pistol or a machine pistol for your secondary. That way you can engage people at a distance, and take them out. I'd also use C4 or Semtex. That way if somebody's behind something, you can just toss that C4 right over it and take them out. But hopefully this helps you out running a shotgun in hardcore. If you're a player like me and you play Call of Duty a lot of times Call of Duty can just get stagnant. So I like trying different things out, and I like trying things that challenge me. Do me a favor though, if you try this out, don't sit in a corner, and just be ready. If you do well, people are going to rage on you and send you all sorts of messages. If you like this video, make sure you check out my channel. I play both hardcore and core, and I like to give you tips and tricks for all different game modes. I'm also going to have videos from Darksiders 2, Borderlands 2, Halo 4, and of course Black Ops 2 as those games come out. But there you have it, 26-4. Should have been 30-4 if I would have taken those guys out in Last Stand. But as always, take care and God bless.